Today, we're going to talk about escaping low income. Most people believe low income is solved by earning more money. That sounds reasonable. If income is low, raise it, right? If you make $30,000, aim for $60,000. If you make $60,000, aim for $100,000. The logic feels straightforward, but it's incomplete. Low income is rarely a single number problem. It is usually a structure problem. The structure of spending, the structure of habits, the structure of decision-making under pressure. When I was a boy delivering newspapers in Omaha, I did not think about becoming wealthy. I thought about keeping what I earned. I tracked every dollar. I looked at what I spent. I compared it to what I saved. That habit mattered more than the size of the income. If you earn $40,000 and spend $39,500, you are fragile. If you earn $40,000 and spend $30,000, you are building power. The income number is the same. The outcome is completely different. Escaping low income begins with one uncomfortable fact. You must create space between what you earn and what you spend. Without that space, no strategy works. You can read investment books, follow stock tips, listen to podcasts, and none of it will matter if there is no margin. In business, we call that margin of safety. In personal finance, it is the gap between income and expenses. That gap is your protection. It is also your opportunity. Many folks, they try to invest before they build that margin. They open brokerage accounts while carrying credit card balances at like 18% interest. They hope for a 10% return in the market while paying 18% to the bank. That's like pouring water into a bucket with a large hole in the bottom. The first step isn't growth. No, the first step is repair. The poverty loop, it often begins with debt. Debt reduces flexibility. Debt reduces choices. Debt turns small problems into emergencies. When a car repair appears, it becomes a crisis instead of just an inconvenience. When rent increases, it becomes panic instead of adjustment. The way out, it starts smaller than most people expect. It begins with a written expense list. Not estimates, not guesses. Exact numbers. Housing, utilities, insurance, transportation, food, subscriptions, every recurring payment. So when you see that you're spending $180 a month eating out or $120 on unused subscriptions, the situation becomes concrete, and you cannot improve what you refuse to measure. In my partnerships, we measured everything: returns, costs, risk exposure. The same principle applies to households. After measurement comes elimination. This does not require extreme deprivation. It requires prioritization. If something does not improve your long-term position, question it. If it does not produce value or stability, consider reducing it. This is where behavior matters. Escaping low income requires the ability to delay gratification. It requires accepting that comfort today may reduce freedom tomorrow. That trade-off is not theoretical. It shows up every week in spending decisions. The next layer is building a small reserve. I am not talking about a 6-month emergency fund immediately. I am talking about the first $1,000. That reserve changes psychology. When you have even a modest buffer, you stop making decisions from fear. Fear leads to expensive choices. Calm leads to rational ones. During the early years of Berkshire Hathaway, I kept large amounts of cash. People criticized that decision because cash earns little. They focused on return. I focused on optionality. Cash allowed me to act when opportunity appeared. On a personal level, a small emergency fund gives you the same optionality. It prevents bad timing from destroying progress. Once debt is reduced and a reserve exists, the conversation shifts from survival to leverage. Leverage in this context does not mean borrowing. It means increasing your earning power in ways that compound over time. Most people treat income as fixed. They negotiate once when they are hired, then accept small annual adjustments. Escaping low income often requires skill expansion. That does not mean quitting your job tomorrow. It means identifying which abilities are rewarded in your industry and deliberately improving them. When I evaluate businesses, I look for competitive advantages. Individuals are no different. If you are easily replaceable, your income will stay limited. If you develop skills that are scarce and valuable, your income ceiling rises. Skill development does not require expensive degrees in every case. It may involve certifications, technical training, communication improvement, sales ability, or digital competence. The key is intentional improvement rather than passive employment. Low income becomes permanent when habits remain static. Income grows when capability grows. After capability improves, income eventually follows. But income alone, you see, it does not create stability. Many people, they increase their earnings and then immediately increase their lifestyle. The car becomes newer, the apartment becomes larger, the monthly payments, they rise in step with the paycheck. The result is higher income with the very same fragility. This is where most escapes, they fail. Escaping low income requires controlling lifestyle expansion. If income rises by, say, $10,000 per year and expenses rise by $9,000, while progress remains slow. But if expenses rise by $2,000 instead, that difference, it becomes capital. And capital, my friends, that's what changes your trajectory. When I was running my early investment partnerships, I lived well below what I could afford. I did not need to display success to feel secure. The surplus capital was far more valuable invested than consumed. Ordinary households, they operate under the same mathematics. Surplus, that is the engine. Once surplus exists consistently, the next strategic step is ownership. Low income persists when all income comes from labor alone. Labor pays for time. Ownership pays for assets. Ownership does not require buying an entire company. It can begin with small pieces of productive assets. Broad market index funds, for example, allow individuals to own shares of thousands of businesses at once. Each of those businesses, you see, they produce goods or services, they hire workers, and they generate profits. And when you own a portion of them, you, my friend, participate in that very productivity. The principle is quite straightforward. Labor, that produces income. But assets, they produce income without additional labor. And when assets begin to generate even small amounts of return, progress, it just accelerates. Many people, they hesitate to invest because markets, well, they fluctuate. They focus on short-term volatility instead of long-term productivity. Yet, over extended periods, diversified ownership in strong businesses has historically produced growth. The key variable, you ask, time. Time, my friends, is the quiet multiplier. If you invest just $200 per month starting at age 25, the outcome is dramatically different than starting at 45. The amounts may feel modest at first, yet the compounding effect builds slowly, and then, oh so visibly. Compounding, it does not reward impatience. It rewards consistency. Another overlooked strategy in escaping low income is tax efficiency. Taxes, they reduce usable income. And while no one avoids taxes entirely, individuals can structure finances intelligently, contributing to retirement accounts with tax advantages, using employer matching programs, and understanding the deductions available to you. Well, these can increase retained earnings without increasing your gross income. Employer matching, in particular, represents immediate return. If an employer matches 50% of contributions up to a certain limit, failing to contribute means declining guaranteed gain. In investing, guaranteed gain is rare. When available, it deserves attention. Insurance is another component people misunderstand. Insurance is not an investment. It is protection against financial catastrophe. A single uninsured medical event or liability claim can reverse years of disciplined progress. Basic health, disability, and liability coverage serve as structural reinforcement. They prevent one event from collapsing the system you are building. Geography also influences opportunity. Some regions offer limited upward mobility in certain industries. While relocation is not simple, remaining in a stagnant environment indefinitely can cap income growth. Evaluating whether better opportunities exist elsewhere is a strategic consideration, not an emotional one. Now, network selection matters as well. If the people around you normalize financial instability, debt accumulation, or constant consumption, then those behaviors become standard. If your environment values improvement, saving, and ownership, expectations shift upward. Behavior adapts to norms more than to instructions. Escaping low income often requires stepping outside familiar patterns. That does not mean abandoning relationships. It means adding influences that reinforce disciplined decision-making. At this stage, the poverty loop weakens because income exceeds expenses, assets exist, and habits support growth. The final shift is perspective. Instead of asking, how much can I spend, the question becomes, how much can I allocate to future ownership? That change may appear subtle, yet it alters every decision. When allocation becomes intentional, purchases are evaluated against long-term return. A $1,000 discretionary expense is no longer just $1,000. It represents lost compounding over decades. Seeing that trade-off clearly changes behavior. So, when you put all of this together, escaping low income stops looking hard and starts looking mechanical. First of all, you create space between income and expenses. Second, you can eliminate high-cost debt and build stability. Third, you then increase your earning power through deliberate skill development. Fourth, you convert surplus into ownership of productive assets. Fifth, you protect what you build. None of these steps require extraordinary intelligence, but they do require consistency. Over long periods, consistency compounds more reliably than brilliance. I have often said that investing is simple, but it is not easy. The same applies here. The math is straightforward. Spend less than you earn. Improve your value. Own productive assets. Give compounding time to work. The difficulty lies in behavior, not formulas. Low income persists when today is always prioritized over tomorrow. It weakens when tomorrow receives regular investment. You do not need extreme changes overnight, my friend. You need steady, rational decisions repeated over years. Small surpluses become capital. Capital becomes ownership. Ownership becomes independence. That is how you leave low income behind. Not through luck, through discipline, allocation, and time.